The rain battered Eli's face as he stood outside the Brooklyn brownstone, his key trembling in the lock. He'd been gone 6 months, chasing a dream job in Seattle, only to return with a heart already in pieces. What waited inside would tear it apart again. Eli Turner, 28, had left New York with a promise from his boyfriend, Caleb, to wait for him. Their love had been a quiet fire, steady, warm, unshakable. Or so he thought. Long-distance calls grew shorter, Caleb's voice colder, until a single text ended it. "I can't do this anymore." Eli had boarded the first flight back, hoping to salvage what was left. The cab ride from JFK felt like a funeral procession, each mile burying his hope deeper. He hadn't told Caleb he was coming. He wanted to see the truth in his eyes. The door creaked open, and the familiar scent of cedar and coffee hit him like a memory. The living room glowed softly, a scene of domestic bliss that didn't belong to him anymore. Caleb sat on the couch, laughing, his arm draped over someone else. Not just anyone, Sophie. Eli's best friend since college. The one who'd been his rock through every storm. Her head rested on Caleb's shoulder, their fingers intertwined. Eli's duffel bag slipped from his hand, thudding to the floor. "Eli." Caleb's voice cracked, his face paling as he shot to his feet. Sophie's eyes widened, her hand flying to her mouth. The room froze, the air thick with guilt and unspoken words. "Why?" Eli's voice was barely a whisper, raw with pain. He didn't need to say more. The question hung like a blade. Caleb stammered. "It just happened. After you left. After I left." Eli cut him off, his voice rising. "You didn't waste any time, did you?" "And you," he turned to Sophie, his chest tightening. "You were my family." Sophie stood, her eyes glistening. "Eli, I didn't mean for this. Stop." Eli's hand shot up. He couldn't bear her voice. Not now. He grabbed his bag and stumbled back into the rain, the door slamming behind him. The city blurred around him, his footsteps aimless. How had it come to this? Caleb, the man he'd planned a future with, and Sophie, the friend who'd known his every secret together. The betrayal was a double wound, slicing deeper because it came from both sides. He found himself at a diner on 7th Avenue, the kind of place where neon buzzed and coffee was always bitter. The waitress, a woman with kind eyes and a name tag reading Marge, slid a mug toward him without a word. Eli stared into the black liquid, replaying the scene. Had there been signs? Caleb's late-night texts that went unanswered. Sophie's sudden silences when Eli mentioned him. He'd been too trusting, too naive. His phone buzzed a text from Sophie. "Please, let me explain." He deleted it without reading further. What was there to explain? The truth was in that cozy tableau, in the way Caleb's arm fit so naturally around her. Eli's chest ached, not just for the love he'd lost, but for the friendship that had been his anchor. Sophie had been there through his coming out, his first heartbreak, his dreams. Now, she was part of his ruin. The diner door chimed, and a stranger walked in, a man about Eli's age, with dark curls and a leather jacket slick with rain. He slid into the booth across from Eli, shaking water from his hair. "Rough night?" the man asked, his voice warm but not intrusive. Eli glanced up, caught off guard by the stranger's easy smile. "You could say that." "Name's Theo," the man said, offering a hand. "Looks like you could use someone to listen." Eli hesitated. Why was this guy being so kind? Was it pity? But something in Theo's eyes steady, unguarded, made Eli lower his walls. Just a fraction. "Eli," he said, shaking Theo's hand. "And yeah, it's been a lot." Theo didn't pry, just sipped his coffee and let Eli talk. And talk he did about Caleb, about Sophie, about the life he thought he'd return to. Theo listened, nodding, his presence a quiet balm. When Eli finished, Theo leaned back, thoughtful. Sounds like you've been through hell. But you're still here. That's something. Eli managed a weak smile. The first in hours. Barely. Give it time, Theo said. The heart's tougher than you think. As the rain slowed outside, Eli felt a flicker of something hope. Maybe. Or just the comfort of being seen. He didn't know it yet, but Theo's arrival was no accident. It was the first step toward rebuilding, toward a love that wouldn't break him. Eli woke to the hum of Brooklyn traffic, his back stiff from a night on a friend's couch. The memory of last night's betrayal clung to him like damp clothes. Theo's words echoed faintly, but the pain was louder. He couldn't stay at Max's place forever. Max, a college buddy who'd offered his couch without questions, was kind but had his own life. Eli needed a plan, a place to rebuild. His phone buzzed again, another text from Sophie. I'm so sorry. Can we talk? He ignored it, his thumb hovering over Caleb's number before deleting it entirely. No going back. The city felt different now, its pulse no longer his. He wandered to a coffee shop on Court Street, the kind with exposed brick and baristas who knew your name. He ordered a black coffee, the bitterness grounding him. As he sat by the window, watching strangers pass, he wondered, how do you start over when trust is gone? His thoughts were interrupted by a familiar voice. Didn't expect to see you again so soon. Theo stood there, a takeout cup in hand, his smile as warm as the night before. Mind if I join you? Eli shrugged, a mix of wariness and curiosity. Free country. Theo slid into the seat across from him, his presence oddly comforting. So, what's the plan? Eli, you gonna let this break you? Or are you gonna fight back? The question stung. Fight back? Against what? The image of Caleb and Sophie together burned in his mind. I don't even know where to start, Eli admitted. Everything I had was in that house. My life. My everything. Theo leaned forward, his eyes steady. Then build something new. You don't need that house to be you. Eli wanted to argue, to say it wasn't that simple. But Theo's certainty, his quiet confidence, made him pause. Who was this guy? And why did he care? You talk like you've been through this, Eli said, half accusing. Theo's smile faltered, just for a moment. I have. Different story. Same kind of pain. Lost someone I loved, too. Took me a while to see I didn't need them to be whole. Eli didn't know what to say. Theo's honesty disarmed him, peeling back layers he wasn't ready to face. They talked for hours, the conversation flowing from heartbreak to dreams, from fears to small hopes. Theo was a photographer, freelancing for magazines, capturing the city's raw edges. He spoke of art like it was a lifeline, and Eli, a graphic designer, found himself drawn to that passion. As they parted, Theo handed Eli a card with his number. Call me if you need a friend. Or a coffee buddy. Eli tucked the card in his pocket, unsure if he'd use it. But as he walked back to Max's, the weight in his chest felt lighter. He spent the day job hunting, sending out resumes, reclaiming pieces of himself. By evening, he found a sublet in Bed-Stuy, a tiny studio that smelled of paint and possibility. It wasn't home not yet, but it was a start. That night, he texted Theo, thanks for today. Might take you up on that coffee. The reply came fast, anytime. Man, you got this. Days turned into weeks. Eli threw himself into work, landing a freelance gig designing posters for a local theater. The routine kept him grounded, but the hurt lingered. He avoided Caleb and Sophie, dodging their calls, their emails. Yet the city was small, and fate was cruel. At a gallery opening in Williamsburg, he saw them. Caleb looked the same tall, sharp jaw, eyes that once held Eli's world. Sophie clung to his arm, her laugh too bright, too forced. Eli's stomach twisted, but he didn't run. He stood taller, his jaw set. Theo, who'd invited him to the event, noticed. "You okay?" He whispered. "No," Eli said honestly. "But I will be." Theo squeezed his shoulder, a silent anchor. The night went on, and Eli didn't crumble. He laughed, mingled, even pitched his designs to a curator. Caleb's gaze followed him, but Eli didn't meet it. He was done living for someone else's eyes. Back at his studio, Eli stared at the blank walls. He wanted to fill them with something new: art, memories, life. Theo's card sat on his desk, a small promise of connection. Maybe, just maybe, he wasn't as alone as he thought. The Bed-Stuy studio became Eli's sanctuary, its bare walls slowly collecting sketches and Polaroids. Each day felt like a small rebellion against the past. But healing, he learned, wasn't linear. It was a jagged line, full of stumbles. Work kept him busy. The theater gig grew into a steady contract, his designs plastering Brooklyn's streets. He poured his pain into bold colors and sharp lines, each poster a piece of his heart reclaimed. Theo's texts became a constant funny memes, invites to art shows, or just a simple "you good." Eli didn't always reply, but the messages anchored him. One evening, Theo dragged him to a dive bar in Bushwick, all sticky floors and neon signs. "You need to live a little," Theo said, sliding a beer across the table. His grin was infectious, and Eli found himself laughing, really laughing, for the first time in months. "Why do you keep showing up?" Eli asked, half serious, the beer loosening his tongue. "You barely know me." Theo leaned back, his eyes glinting under the bar's dim lights. "Maybe I see something in you. Something worth sticking around for." Eli's breath caught. Was Theo flirting? Or was it just his way open, unguarded, real? Eli didn't know, and the uncertainty thrilled and terrified him. He changed the subject, but the moment lingered, a spark he wasn't ready to name. Weeks later, the past came knocking. Sophie stood outside his studio, her coat dusted with snow. "Eli, please," she said, her voice trembling. "I need to explain." He almost shut the door, but something stopped him. Maybe pity, maybe curiosity. "5 minutes," he said, stepping aside. Inside, Sophie sat stiffly, her hands twisting in her lap. "I didn't plan this," she started. "After you left, Caleb was a mess. I was just there. It wasn't supposed to happen." Eli's jaw tightened. "But it did. You knew what he meant to me." "I know," she whispered, tears spilling. "I hate myself for it. But I love him. Eli, I didn't mean to hurt you." Her words cut, but they also clarified. Sophie wasn't the villain he'd made her out to. Besh was human, flawed, caught in her own heart's mess. "I don't hate you," Eli said finally. "But I can't trust you. Not anymore." She nodded, wiping her eyes. "I just wanted you to know I'm sorry." After she left, Eli felt lighter, like a knot had loosened. Forgiveness wasn't there yet, but understanding was a start. He texted Theo, talked to Sophie. Didn't kill her. Progress. Theo's reply was instant. "Hell yeah. Progress. Drinks on me." Their friendship deepened, a slow burn of trust. Theo shared his own scars, a relationship that ended in lies, a family that didn't accept him. Eli saw himself in Theo's resilience, in the way he turned pain into art. They spent late nights at Theo's loft, surrounded by prints and camera gear, talking about everything and nothing. One night, Theo showed Eli a photo series portraits of strangers, each face raw with emotion. "This is what I love," Theo said, "capturing the truth in people. The stuff they hide." Eli studied the photos, then Theo's face. "What's your truth?" he asked softly. Theo's gaze held his, unguarded. "That I'm scared to want something real again. But I'm trying." The air shifted, charged with possibility. Eli's heart raced, but he didn't look away. For the first time, he felt ready to try, too. Eli's life began to take shape, each day a brick in a new foundation. The studio walls now held color sketches, photos, a print Theo gave him of a Brooklyn sunrise. But the past wasn't done with him yet. He ran into Caleb at a bodega on Flatbush Avenue, a chance collision that stopped his heart. Caleb looked tired, his eyes shadowed. "Eli," he said, voice low, "can we talk?" Eli wanted to walk away, but his feet stayed planted. "What's left to say?" Caleb shifted, uneasy. "I messed up. I know that. But I miss you." The words hit like a punch. Eli remembered their late-night talks, their shared dreams. But he also remembered the betrayal. "You don't get to miss me," Eli said, his voice steady. "You chose this." Caleb's face crumpled. "I didn't mean to hurt you. Sophie and I, it's complicated." "It's not," Eli said, turning away. "It's done." He walked out, the bell above the door jangling behind him. The encounter shook him, but it also clarified something. Caleb no longer held his heart. That power belonged to Eli now. Theo noticed the change when they met later at a park in Dumbo. "You look different," Theo said, studying him. "Lighter." Eli told him about Caleb, about the closure that came from standing his ground. Theo listened, then grinned. "You're stronger than you know, Eli." The compliment warmed him, but so did Theo's presence. They walked along the waterfront, the Manhattan skyline glittering across the river. Theo's hand brushed Eli's, a fleeting touch that sent a jolt through him. Was this what moving on felt like? Or was it something more? Work kept Eli grounded. His theater posters were a hit, earning him a meeting with a Manhattan gallery interested in his designs. He invited Theo to the opening, a bold move that felt like a leap. Theo arrived in a sharp blazer, his camera slung over his shoulder, snapping candids of Eli mingling with curators. "You're in your element," Theo said later, showing Eli a photo of himself laughing, eyes bright. "This is you." Eli looked at the photo, then at Theo. "You see me," he said quietly. "Not many people do." Theo's smile softened. "I've been seeing you since that diner." The moment hung between them, fragile and electric. Eli wanted to close the distance, to test this new feeling, but fear held him back. What if he got hurt again? What if Theo wasn't ready either? Days later, Theo invited Eli to a photo shoot in Coney Island. The boardwalk was quiet, the off-season leaving it to locals and dreamers. Theo captured kids chasing seagulls, old men playing chess. Eli watched, mesmerized by Theo's focus, his ability to find beauty in the ordinary. As the sun set, Theo turned his camera on Eli. "Smile," he said, but Eli shook his head, suddenly shy. Theo lowered the camera, stepping closer. "You don't need to hide from me." Eli's heart pounded. "I'm not. I'm just scared." "Of what?" Theo's voice was soft, his eyes searching. "Of this," Eli admitted. "Of wanting something again." Theo reached for his hand, his touch steady. "Then we'll be scared together." They stood there, hands clasped, the ocean whispering behind them. It wasn't a promise. Not yet. But it was a beginning. Winter settled over Brooklyn, blanketing the city in quiet. Eli's studio felt like home now, its walls alive with his art and Theo's photos. Their connection grew, a slow dance of trust and possibility. They spent evenings cooking in Theo's loft, laughing over burnt pasta and shared stories. Theo's warmth chipped away at Eli's walls, but doubts lingered. Could he love again without losing himself? Was Theo's heart as open as it seemed? One night, over wine and jazz, Theo asked, "What do you want, Eli? Not just now, but for you." The question caught Eli off guard. He'd been so focused on surviving, he hadn't thought about dreaming. "I want to create," he said finally. "Art that matters. And someone to share it with." Theo's eyes held his, steady and warm. "You're already creating. And the other part? You'll find it." Eli wanted to believe him, but the past still whispered warnings. He changed the subject, but Theo's words stayed with him. At his next gallery meeting, Eli pitched a solo show, a series of designs inspired by heartbreak and healing. The curator loved it, and Eli felt a spark of purpose reignite. Theo was there for every step, sketching ideas with him, challenging him to dig deeper. One afternoon, in a quiet moment at Theo's loft, Eli found a photo album tucked on a shelf. It was Theo's past as ex, a man with sharp cheekbones and a guarded smile. Theo caught him looking. "That's Julian," he said, his voice even. "He broke my heart, too." Eli closed the album, his chest tight. "How did you get past it?" "I didn't," Theo said. "I just kept going. Found new things to love. Like this city. Like people." The unspoken hung between them. Eli wanted to ask if he was one of those people, but the words caught in his throat. Instead, he reached for Theo's hand. A silent question. Theo squeezed back. A silent answer. Their first kiss came a week later, under a streetlight in Park Slope, snow dusting their coats. It was soft, tentative, but it lit something in Eli's chest, a warmth he thought he'd lost. "Is this okay?" Theo whispered, his breath visible in the cold. "More than okay," Eli said, and kissed him again. The gallery show loomed, and Eli threw himself into it. His designs a map of his journey, grief, betrayal, hope. Theo helped hang the pieces, his pride evident in every glance. The opening night was packed, the room buzzing with praise. Eli stood in the center, his work on display, feeling exposed but alive. Then he saw them, Caleb and Sophie, standing by a canvas. Caleb's eyes met his, and for a moment, the world narrowed. Sophie stepped forward, hesitant. "Your work, it's incredible," she said. Eli nodded, his throat tight. "Thanks for coming." Caleb lingered, his expression unreadable. "I'm proud of you," he said softly, then left with Sophie. The words stung, but they didn't break him. Eli turned to find Theo, who was watching from across the room, a quiet smile on his face. "You did this," Theo said later, as they walked home. "You built something beautiful." Eli took his hand, the city alive around them. "We did." Spring brought new colors to Brooklyn, and to Eli's life. His relationship with Theo deepened, rooted in shared silences and stolen kisses. But love, Eli learned, didn't erase the scars, it just made them easier to carry. They spent weekends exploring the city, from flea markets in Williamsburg to jazz clubs in Harlem. Theo's camera was ever present, capturing Eli in moments of joy, a laugh, a glance, a quiet thought. Each photo felt like a gift, a reminder that he was seen. But the past wasn't silent. Caleb's text started again, Small apologies that grew into pleas. I made a mistake. Can we talk? Eli deleted them, but each one stirred old wounds. He didn't tell Theo, not wanting to burden him. Instead, he poured his energy into his art, his next series exploring trust and its fragility. One evening, at a rooftop party in Greenpoint, Eli overheard gossip Sophie and Caleb were struggling, their relationship fraying. He felt a pang, not of longing, but of pity. He'd moved on, but they were still trapped in the aftermath. Theo noticed his quiet mood. "You okay?" he asked, pulling Eli aside. Eli hesitated, then told him about Caleb's texts. Theo's jaw tightened, but his voice stayed calm. "What do you want to do about it?" "Nothing," Eli said, surprised by his own certainty. "He's not my future." Theo's smile was small but real. "Good. Because I kinda like being part of your future." The words settled in Eli's chest, warm and solid. He kissed Theo, the city lights blurring around them. For the first time, he felt like he was exactly where he belonged. Work flourished. Eli's designs caught the eye of a Manhattan ad agency, offering him a full-time role. He hesitated. Stability was tempting, but freelancing gave him freedom. Theo pushed him to think bigger. "What's the dream, Eli?" "Not the safe choice, the dream." Eli thought of his sketches, his half-formed ideas for a graphic novel about love and loss. "I want to tell stories," he said. "Real ones. Mine. Yours. Ours." "Then do it," Theo said. "I'll be here." Eli started sketching that night, the story pouring out his heartbreak, his healing, his hope. Theo read each page, offering feedback, his belief in Eli unshakable. The process was raw, exposing parts of himself Eli had buried. But it was honest, and that was enough. One afternoon, Caleb showed up at the studio, unannounced. "I needed to see you," he said, his voice breaking. "I messed up, Eli. I love you." Eli's heart ached, but not for Caleb, for the person he'd been, the one who thought Caleb was his world. "You don't love me," Eli said gently. "You love the idea of me. But I'm not that person anymore." Caleb left, his shoulders slumped. Eli watched him go, feeling a finality that was both painful and freeing. He texted Theo. Caleb came by. "I'm okay. I chose me." Theo's reply was a single heart emoji, but it said everything. Summer hummed through Brooklyn, the air thick with possibility. Eli's graphic novel took shape, each page a piece of his soul. Theo was as constant as critic, his cheerleader, his home. They moved in together, a loft in Bushwick filled with light and chaos. Theo's photos lined the walls, mingling with Eli's sketches. It wasn't perfect dishes piled up, arguments flared, but it was theirs. Eli learned to love the imperfections, the way Theo's laugh could dissolve his frustration. One night, over takeout and cheap wine, Theo asked, "What's the ending of your story?" "Not the book, you." Eli paused, chopsticks hovering. "I used to think it was finding someone. Now, it's finding me." Theo's eyes softened. "You're doing a damn good job of it." The novel neared completion, and Eli sent it to publishers, his nerves raw. Rejections came, but so did interest. A small press in Manhattan offered a deal, and Eli felt like he'd won a war. Theo threw a party, inviting their friends' artists, dreamers, misfits. The loft buzzed with laughter, music, and hope. But the past lingered. Sophie reached out, asking to meet. Against his better judgment, Eli agreed. They met at a cafe in Cobble Hill, the air heavy with history. Sophie looked different, older, quieter. "I'm leaving New York," she said. Caleb and I, it's over. Eli wasn't surprised. But the news.